Henry the VIII, which, even though it happened 500 years ago, will be all too familiar to anyone who's ever tried internet dating. Here's Rob Beckett, who, after knocking back 3 pints of strong lager, 8 whiskies and 6 shots of Sambuca, is settling down to tell the tale.
What? Shall I look at you or that? We all know King Henry VIII had an absolute nightmare of women, but his decision to marry Anne of Cleeves was an absolute shocker. Right, picture the scene. It's 16th century England, and old Henry is on the lookout for a new woman. So King Henry VIII is like, Cromwell, mate, I need some help. I need a new wife. I've not had the best luck. Like, do you know what I mean? I've divorced one, I've chopped one's head off, and one died in childbirth. And Cromwell's like, Henry, it's not your fault. And Henry's like, well, one definitely was. Cromwell's like, stop being hard on yourself. Do not worry. I've found one for you. Germany. Fitbird. Alban the Younger. Your artist. He's going to paint the shit out of her. Cromwell, cracking idea. Holborn, your quality at drawing, painting, pictures. Holborn, you're good at your job. That's why I've got you. Holborn goes off, does a quick painting. Well, I don't know how long it took. I mean, I wasn't there. He goes, King Henry VIII. This is Anne of Cleeves. And King Henry VIII could not be happier. He is like, yes, she is proper fit, Holborn. That is a bit of me. Boys, you've done good. I've seen a lot of women. I've never been fully erect at a painting before. I've seen this bad boy. I've hit the roof. Anne of Cleeves, beautiful. What a painting, Holborn. Good work. There's a raise. 3 guineas. Cromwell's like, I've nailed it. Holborn's like, I'm pretty good at paintings. Job done. Bring her to me. She turns up in England, and Henry VIII is like, quality. She's here. She's in town. So he's well up for it. He's happy. He's excited. He's like, Cleeves is here. Loving a bit of Cleeves. I've seen the painting. Now she's here. Say what? That's what Henry VIII's saying. Verbatim. That is in the books. That is in the record books. He's excited. But he's almost too excited that he can't see her first. He sends off his mate Brown. Andrew Brown. I think that might be it.
It was Anthony.
Anthony Brown! And he turns up to see her. He walks in, sees her, and he's worried. He's concerned because she is not the painting. I don't know if you've ever seen anyone ravaged by smallpox. It's like gremlins. What am I going to do? Brown goes back to Henry, and Henry goes, so, Brown, what's she like? I've had her transported from Germany. And Brown looks at him in the eyes and does what any good man or good friend would do and says, Henry, she's absolutely quality, mate. You're gonna love her. Then Brown fucks right off. He's like, fuck this shit. She's a rotter. He's got the ump. He loves a bit of the axe. I'm getting right out of here. I'm going to fucking Ibiza for the season. What more could he do? Who's gonna... He kills his wives. What's he gonna do to his mate that goes, yeah, she's a fucking... Henry, I've seen her. It's not on, is it? We can't do that. What did she look like? Not gonna lie to you, Henry. This is the best day of my life. Do you know, I used to work at a fucking market. I used to sell compost. I'm getting paid to get shit-faced. It's like a weird dream. So Henry cannot wait to see Anne of Cleeves. He's looking at her portrait. He's so excited. So what he does is he decides to surprise her early, whaps on his little disguise, and off he goes. I don't think whaps is a word, is it? Cleevesy, she's sitting there. He turns up, cops off with her, grabs her. She's like, what are you doing, mate? Henry VIII, if you can try and pull a bird, dress as a king. I don't know a lot about pulling women, but if I was a king, I would dress as one. Anyway, he takes off all the disguise, sees her, and he is like, what the fucking hell is that? What am I going to do? I can't do anything. The treaty's been signed. The purchase order has been signed off. I've got to do it. And he ends up having to marry her. So poor old Anne of Cleeves is at the end of the bed. She's in her lingerie. Anne of Cleeves is in all her sexy outfit. She's at the end of the bed going, H, Henry VIII thereof. I'm yours. And he's like, fuck off, love. So basically, I know I am steaming now, so hopefully this is correct. They wouldn't have sex. Henry was just like, oh, no go. He annulled it. Because he wouldn't have sex if he got it annulled, then she got Eva Castle. How's that for a divorce? The moral of the story is, if your mate goes to Germany, draws a picture of a woman, don't marry her. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think you need me to tell you that. I'm absolutely fine.
Once again surrounds Henry VIII's love life. Old Henry was ahead of his time. He was swiping left and right way back in 1536, usually with an axe. Here's Sarah Pascoe with the story of wife number 6 after 7 glasses of Prosecco. That's nearly 2 bottles, or when Sarah looks at them, 4 bottles.
It's the 16th century. Henry VIII has had 5 wives. Divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded. Let me tell you the story of Catherine Parr. Right, so where are we? 1543, Henry VIII. He's this syphilitic, ulcerated, fat, ginger man with skin falling off, and everyone's like, oh, he smells bad, but we can't tell him because he's the king. He's not had a wife for 2 years. Before that, he's had 5 wives. What's he going to do now? Henry looks in the mirror, and it's like, oh, you used to really have it going on. And I feel like nowadays, a lot of these women around the court are running away from me now. And his manservant's like, Henry, you're an idiot. I mean, I'm sorry to say that to you, but you're a buffoon. You're the most handsome man in the region. They're all chatting, who's going to be wife number 6? And then Henry's like, that's very disrespectful. I might not get married again. And he's like, And then Henry's like, yeah, I'm going to get married again. And he's like, how does my junk look in these? And the servant's like, incredible. You'd never know you had syphilis. And then Henry swaggers out into the courtyard, which is where all the women kind of stand around in corners like it's a school disco. And one catches his eye. He says to his friend, who is that woman? And his friend is like, that's Catherine Parr. She's totally into Thomas Seymour. I wouldn't bother. Out of your league. Henry VIII is like, no one is out of my league. And Catherine Parr, she's not interested about Henry VIII. She's talking to Thomas Seymour, and he looks beautiful tonight. And Thomas Seymour is saying to her, did you know that some people think that the earth is round? And she's like, what? Henry VIII coughs really loud, and Catherine turns round, and she says, hello. And Henry says, hi, will you marry me? That's a rhetorical question, you've got no choice. And then there's a vicar there, and Catherine goes, what? And the vicar says, I now pronounce you man and wife. And Henry is like, well, you know the rhyme. Divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded. It's up to you. And Catherine goes, OK, I'll do my best. And Henry goes, I hope so, because I don't know what my genitals are doing. They've been dead for years. Like, I'm completely hammered, but fine. Now she has to live with the king, which is bad in some ways because he's an awful tyrant who kills his wives, but good in other ways because now she's the most powerful woman in the country and she gets to live in a castle. So it's come see, come sa. Everything's going pretty well, but then she gets into evangelical Protestantism, like a member of Bible Club, where she was like, oh, have you read this chapter? And they were like, oh, yeah, the chapter with the ark, that is a good chapter. And Catherine's getting all ideas and arrogant, like, oh, hang on. Religion is there for everyone. The Bible was written by God via human beings. We should all interpret it and have whatever relationship with it that we want to. And then the King's Council were like, hang on, excuse me, can you shut your mouth? Because actually Henry is the person who knows about God. That book is too complicated. No one should be doing this at home. So the King's Council were like, Henry, we're so sorry. Your wife is going around telling everyone they can just read the Bible and understand and commune with God themselves. This is absolute BS. And then Henry the VIII is like, what? And Henry knows something has to be done about his wife. And he's like, I'm gonna get vengeance. So all the king's men have run off to plan how they might arrest the Queen of England. And Henry is lying there and he's in terrible pain. And he calls for Dr. Wendy. Dr. Thomas Wendy, I won't see anybody else. And he gets there and he's like, Henry, what the on earth is wrong with you? And Henry's like, everything! I'm in so much pain, I'm so swollen. And Dr. Wendy's like, if you hadn't slept with all those prostitutes, we wouldn't have this syphilis problem. And Henry the VIII is like, what? And he's like, nothing, I was just coughing. And then Dr. Wendy says, tell me what's really bothering you. And Henry the VIII says, I think that I'm going to get my wife arrested because she's saying that I'm not the absolute massive head of the church. And Dr. Wendy's like, well, I think your wife is a wonderful woman doing some incredible things for the country, but you're the king, you can do what you like. I just think that maybe I should have a copy of that arrest warrant. And Henry's like, that seems out of the blue, out of nowhere. No, it doesn't. You're just very sick. And Henry's like, okay, of course you can have that. And so Henry VIII gives him a copy of the arrest warrant, and Dr. Wendy says, I promise I will never tell anybody directly what you have told me in this room. Dr. Wendy knows exactly what he needs to do, which is to never, ever break his word to the King Henry VIII. He walks along the corridor and he allows the arrest warrant to drop. Coincidentally, just outside Catherine Parr's room. Catherine has just finished Protestant club, so she's looking forward to just getting back to her room, putting on her pyjamas, going to bed. What's this on the floor? It's got her name on it, so it wouldn't be rude to read, and... oh, it's an arrest warrant because she has dared to contradict her master, the king. Something needs to be done, something needs to be done very quickly, or they're going to arrest her tomorrow morning. And she knows what happens after they arrest her. They accuse you of incest, witchcraft, treason, and then they kill you. She looks up to the sky, to the god who she thinks lives there. She says, I feel very sick all of a sudden. And so we don't know. Maybe she was very sick from stress, or whether she was just biding time. Catherine Parr laid in her bed until she was ready to speak to the king about what had been going on. And like straight away from that afternoon, Henry's like, Catherine. And Catherine goes, not today, dear. I am terribly poorly in my woman's parts. And then he comes again just before bedtime. Can I say good night? Oh, don't come into my room. My room's haunted. And then the next morning, Catherine, I brought you some soup. She's like, no, look, I'm bleeding out right now. I'm sorry about the sheets. I'll replace them. And he keeps going away. He's getting more and more worried, which means that she knows she's got him exactly where she wants him. So after a few days, he knocks very tentatively, like, my love? And she says, okay, but don't be shocked by my visage. And when Henry walks in, she explains to him that all she ever wanted was to be exciting for him. She was a silly little woman asking questions. And she says, please, I've been asking questions. Tell me, how should people relate to their God? And Henry's like, oh, you wanted me to tell you? And she says, yes, all I've ever wanted was to interest you, bemuse you, or perhaps maybe distract you from that ulcerated leg. And Henry goes like, oh, I thought you was doing a plot against me. And she's like, no, ever since you kind of put your flaccid penis inside me, we've been the very best of friends. And then Catherine and Henry embraced as only a woman who doesn't really love a man and a really fat man can embrace. And Catherine was like, let's just now live together happily for the rest of your days. I mean, our days. So on the 28th of January, 1547, Henry VIII dies. It's the worst day of Catherine Parr's life. And she realises, I can marry Thomas Seymour. Oh no, I'm so sad. No, honestly, I'm really sad. I'm sorry you're dead. How long do I have to wait officially? And that is how the most murderous king ever got bested by a lady with attitude. Catherine Parr.